Welcome to Living Legacy Leadership, where we explore, discover, and share insights, tools, and strategies for a life well lived into elderhood. I'm your host, Donna Kim Brand, author, speaker, legacy strategy coach, and creator of the concept Living Legacy, where you choose to live life on your own terms while contributing to people, places, and projects along your life journey. I believe that the life you live is the legacy you leave. Now, the guests I bring to you each week all address some unique aspect of learning, leadership, or legacy. This helps you raise your own game as a leader in business and life, and also showcases some extraordinary people who exemplify living legacy leadership. At least once a month, I also offer a training session to skill you in game changer thinking for your own application. So get your notebook ready or sharpen up your memory by tuning in your attention, and we'll dive right in. Now, we have a special guest today, a colleague and friend of mine. Her name is Shirley Joy Jackson. Now, Shirley has always enjoyed learning and discovering how new or different perspectives can add quality to life. And it's this journey that gave her the insights of how to stack the deck in her favor when she ran into a brick wall of major and perplexing health challenges. Now, this relates to what we're going to talk about today, which is toxic loads, EMFs, and your health, how to stack the deck in your favor. So Shirley's career is primarily as an educator, no matter what she's doing. She has over a 35-year career in education, starting as an elementary school teacher, and then moved on with a master's in curriculum development, serving as the educational coach for an allied health faculty at a university in the radiation, respiratory, and laboratory tech departments. She then began her tenure in her home state of Florida as the Palm Beach County School System District grant writer, and moved into being a research project manager for a national effort to identify what would reduce risk factors of delinquency and stack the deck in favor of resiliency and student success. This is very often with at-risk students. And you'll see how all these interesting factors of her career history pulled together and actually allowed her to pull a rabbit out of a hat kind of magically with her own health situation. So welcome, Shirley Joy Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I love sharing about this.
Fantastic. Now, we'll get into you becoming a Donna Eden energy medicine practitioner in a bit. Let's kick off with what, in hindsight, you realized were a couple of key factors that threw the sort of wrench in the works of your own health. Tell us about some of those factors.
Well, the toxic loads, what I now know about health and what I guess, back in 2004, apparently Time magazine cover story talked about inflammation. And what we know about chronic diseases, and that includes things like cancer and Alzheimer's, is that the base of it does have to do with inflammation, with oxidative stress. And what that is just epitomized of whenever you have some sort of environmental toxic load. And there were three things that, should I go on about the three things that showed up in my life as a toxic load?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Well, the first thing, and this is only in retrospect, I grew up in Miami in the 1950s. We had a corner store, and right around the corner from that was a gas station. The gas station was downwind from my backyard. In the 50s, we had lead in our gas. No one really thought much about it. And it was way, way back into it. It took until the 90s for them to really get rid of all the lead in gasoline and all of the lead in paints. What I found out is that my toxic load, the amount of lead that I had in my system was like in the 97th percentile.
Whoa.
And I said to myself, holy cow. But my doctor told me, people who went through the 50s as a youth, they have much higher degrees of lead in their system. But he told me, you can eat cilantro, and cilantro helps you get rid of heavy metals. So I took about 3 years worth of, still do today, put a bunch of cilantro in my smoothie, and I've gotten that from 97 percentile down to the right midpoint 50s. So when you notice what you're up against, and you look around for easy ways to build your resiliency, then you can affect things in a way that really is a lot smoother and easier and enjoyable in your life.
Fantastic. What an incredible finding. And I'm surprised that a doctor told you that, since most medical doctors don't train very thoroughly in nutrition, even to this day. Pretty shocking.
True. He's an exceptional one. He's a holistic doctor who I have come to really appreciate.
That's good. Well, that's one. You said there were three major toxic load factors for you.
Well, the second one came in, sort of in sheep's clothing, and I really never thought about it. I was this wonderfully workaholic, absolutely love my job, following my bliss, and started kind of in my 40s getting a little bit, things were slowing down. Cognitively, it just sort of was slowing down. I complained to, now this isn't the same doctor, I complained to a doctor that at that time that I was having trouble concentrating. So he said, well, maybe what you have really is ADD, and I can give you some drugs. And I kind of foolishly said, oh, okay. I started taking methylphenidate. Methylphenidate, what I learned later, that number one is that 15 million kids in our country were on methylphenidate at that time. It's probably at least still the same or more. And I thought, oh, this must be okay. And it did help me with my concentration. But when I started having problems, I started really having some more difficulty to the extent where when I got married, I said, oh, I'm going to take a sabbatical. I'm going to enjoy my first year of married life. And I'm going to stop taking these drugs because they're really not helping me. Well, the cognitive losses, I started researching it, and the only symptoms that I found, the only people I found that shared my same symptoms were, let's see, how to say, female cocaine addicts who had reached menopause. That was another holy cow.
Yeah.
I said, what? I've never taken cocaine in my life. What is this? I research it more and come to find out, if you read the fine print and you go listen to the actual testimonies that happen at the FDA to look at drugs, methylphenidate has exactly the same chemical composition as cocaine, except for one little part of it. One little part of it is changed, and there's no addiction. But what I was experiencing, I realized, was I had taken that for 10 years.
Yikes.
I had taken that for 10 years. My gosh, what had I done to myself, I thought, Then the last one has to do with something that is absolutely ubiquitous at this time. Back up a moment. That thing about lead, it only took them about 25 years to have the regulatory people start putting safety regulations in so that we could protect our youth and our own selves. Well, with EMFs, about 25 years ago, the FCC had established the human exposure limits. What is it that they said up until this point? You're safe, you're fine, there's no adverse health effects, blah, blah, blah. Well, they established that 25 years ago, and you know what? They have not changed it since. even though well over 2,000 studies that look at biological impacts, they just don't call that an adverse health effect. You can have Cleveland Clinic shows that men who carry cell phones in their front pockets suffer problems with semen motility, with integrity, with DNA and breakage. That's not the kind of thing we want to have happen. And you know what? In public health, the fertility rate has gone lower and lower. And there's a nice correlation between when cell phones went up and fertility rates started going down. But that's not the thing that the cell phone companies tend to emphasize.
Well, sure. Well, and even I've heard that even with laptop computers, if you sit them on your lap for extended periods, it fries your reproductive organs, whether you're male or female. Does that corroborate with your?
Absolutely. I would highly advise environmentalhealthtrust.org is a wonderful both scientific and high integrity public education organization that both does research and shows you what really is in the background. Matter of fact, right now, I'm a member of that organization, and we have filed suit against the FCC. It's in federal court right now. When we're saying that you need to look at the scientific evidence to update your human exposure levels, and guess what? You have not done that for 25 years. You have not.
I think a big part of the problem with this is that electromagnetic frequencies are invisible. So you, Shirley, as a healer and as a consultant in these matters, I know you've got a special device, a kind of monitor like a Geiger counter that measure EMFs. Can you?
Actually, yes, we have. Not just one. We have quite a number of them around here because different frequencies need different meters and antennas in order to measure them. And right now, I do have my great assistant. He's very handsome, but he does have a smartphone in his hand.
Yeah.
That's my husband, Jim. I have a number of meters, but I'm going to use what's called a Safe and Sound Pro. This one is about $400. There are other meters that I have that are about $2,000. And there's a little brother that Safe and Sound Pro has that's only about $150 or so, and it's really very, very handy. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn on my meter. And there's an array of lights, and green is the lowest. These are building biology specifications. That means that there's between less than 1 and 10 microwatts per meter squared. I'll just call them units, but that's the unit we typically use. And in my office right now, because I have shielding material on my window, and there's only 2 microwatts per meter square. Now, I'm going to turn it on with some sound, and you can vaguely hear there's some sound there. It's the background noise. Now, Jim is going to go from airplane mode. Now, the meter is blinking with red lights. It's gone up to 2,000. It goes up and back. It pulses. And Jim, would you just turn on the? Now you hear that?
Yeah. Yep.
That has to do. It's connecting. He's opening up his phone. It's going to 2,900.